Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
Before I met him, I'd seen him play. I saw him play with Gary Burton's band,
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
with Mick Goodrick
Yeah, I
and
love that group. Yeah.
Moses. Yeah. And, it was good. And then I heard him play at that same club, Harry Hope's, where Street Dancer had
Yeah.
played. I heard him there, but I didn't really talk to him. By that time, I was already playing with Ross. And so I didn't even talk to Pat. I didn't know him. And then he called me, for that first time in 77.
Yeah.
So that's actually the first time we ever talked. And, I saw him play twice more. I saw him play at the Bottom Line in New York, and I saw him play at the College of DuPage in Illinois here. And I just went to say hi. I mean, after I didn't try to get the gig. I wasn't even interested. I mean, seriously, I didn't know, and that's sort of how that whole thing happened. So then in 82, I was playing with the Simon and Bard group. There was this band, we were touring around like, it was like sleeping on people's floors. I mean, it was really, I could have been in Chicago making a lot of money doing jingles and stuff, but I wanted to play original music. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she goes, "Oh yeah, go, you should do what you need to do. Thank God."
Beautiful.
So I went out, and then Pat and Steve came in because they in Portland, Oregon one night. They played Portland, Oregon, and Simon and Bard Group was playing Portland, Oregon.
Ah, okay.
So after the concert of Metheny, with Pat and Steve came to hear Simon and Bard. And Larry Gray was playing, Wertico Can't Gray. He was the bass player. And we played a set. And then, I said hi to Pat, didn't think anything of it, and I think the Simon and Bard group thought that he was coming to check them out, but he was actually, I guess, checking me out because, about a week later or whatever, he called me. He told me the Nav Vasconcelos had left the band and there was going to be a percussionist auditioning. Could I play for the percussionist's audition?
So that was Pedro then, or
no.
No.
So I thought, man, finally get a chance to play together. I flew to Boston, and it was some percussionist. I played a half hour for the guy, and then, that was it. And then we ended up playing for like 10 to 12 hours. I mean, it was incredible. We were playing, and this is during the wintertime. This is like around Christmas time.
In Boston.
Yeah, in Boston. And I didn't know the music. It was weird. The first time we played Are You Going With Me, I had never heard Are You Going With Me, because I was into other types of music. I mean, Pat's stuff was good, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
And so, at one point, Pat said, like, man, would you go out in the hallway, and we need to talk about something. So I go on this hallway and it's freezing because, we had played in this warehouse. So I'm freezing. And about a half hour later, I go in and Pat goes, said, man, we really like your playing. I mean, it's really great, but, I'm going to be back in Chicago on New Year's Day. Why don't you get together with Steve and, learn some of the music and we could play together as a trio.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got together. There was no music. I had to learn these songs, blah, blah. And so we played in some hotel, banquet room or something as a trio.
Oh, beautiful, man. Wow.
Yeah. And then, just jamming, playing some of the songs.
Right.
And then, he calls me about a week or so, 10 days later and says, like, do you have a passport? And I said, no. And he said, well, get one. You're going to Europe with us,
Wow.
And that's how that happened.
Like a 2-month European tour, or
3 months, because it got extended another 6 weeks. It was so long,
That was the first time you were in Europe then also?
Yeah, it was the first time I was ever in Europe.
How was that like for you? I mean,
well, it was great. I mean, it was so obviously, the flight over there, the first gig was in Oslo. So we ended up in Oslo. And one of the things I remember really vividly we had rehearsed like a day or something, and I'm still learning the music. The music makes no sense to me because they don't have the charts. So I'm trying to remember what section goes with what's that, tune. And I remember the Esoteric Circle album has a Sibelius statue on it. And so I asked somebody if I could go to the park and see the Sibelius statue. So I remember this vividly. It was interesting because he and I are talking, and he tells me, he goes, yeah, it's so boring here living in Oslo because there's no crime. And I'm like, I'm from Chicago, I'm like, what are you talking about? But anyway, so we do the Sibelius thing, and, we go back. So then the first gig was at the Club 7. It's and Jan Garbarek and John Christensen are in the audience.
Oh, wow, really? Oh,
and man. So we play. And about the second or third tune, my snare drum breaks. The string on the strainer breaks off. Now, Pat won't stop the show. So one of the techs comes out and duct tapes the snares to the bottom head. So my drum just sounded like a paper bag.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 hours and 45 minutes. That was my first gig with them. And Pedro's new to this by that time too, So it's funny because the second gig we ever did is in Copenhagen, and that's actually was that I got that. Someone sent it. They put it up on YouTube. I don't know if it's still up.
Seriously, I have to check it out.
Yeah, and it was another 3-hour gig. By that time, Pat had bought me a snare drum. We went to some drum store in Copenhagen. He bought me a snare drum because my snare drum just couldn't handle how the volume of what we were doing and stuff. So that first tour was really crazy, but we played really well, man. I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be awful. It's going to be a mess. And when I listened to it, I go, there's some few loose moments, but man, we were killing this stuff,
Yeah.
And it's so different then than it is now, because when you were there, you were gone. To call my girlfriend, I might call her every 5 days because, you had to use the hotel phone, and the surcharge on the hotel phone in Germany.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One time I remember vividly, Pedro called Argentina for about 20 minutes, and he comes down, we're going to check out the next morning, and his bill was like 600
marks. Yeah.
And he started crying,
Oh my God.
Where now, you can do this. I mean, you can be anywhere, It's so much easier now to tour. But back then you were really, really gone. And the other thing that was so strange for the relationship is that there was a delay usually in the line. Yeah. So like if you go, if I'm talking to my wife Barb, I go, Barb, how you doing? I'm fine. So you're thinking, like what? Wait, what do you mean you have to think about it? Yeah, I was like, really? It was intense,
That's bizarre. No, I always love these. But you guys traveled by bus then, or by train? Like
we basically in Europe. I mean, we would fly.
You would also fly already then. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were flying already. But then a lot of times, like if we were playing in Germany or playing, if the gigs were 3-4 hours away, we might have 2 rent-a-cars. Pat liked to drive a car, and then the tour manager, like Vance Anderson, I think was the tour manager at that time, he would drive, and we would just do that because that was just easier. And it was a great way to see the countryside.
Yeah. Like, how did you get used to these? You mentioned like 3 hours or 3 hours and 40 minutes. How was that like for you? Like, let's say on a 3-month tour, playing 63-hour concerts. How did you hold on? I mean, like regarding physically and all that.
It wasn't that hard for me. Sometimes we would have to play like 2 2.5 hour shows with like an hour break, or 2, it just, I could still do it if I had to,
sure. Yeah.
Because I play really relaxed,
you're like a painter, man, or like
thank you.
With like, so beautiful to see you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So when you're doing that, you're dancing, you're not pushing. And the other thing, there's no repetitive motion to get like tendinitis or anything. Because if you play the same way over and over and over again, you're going to wear out everything. But if you're doing this, nothing is being used repeatedly for any length of time. So it's being relieved as you're using the other stroke that you're hitting something with.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.